So I actually did get quite a bit of Gyo read last night, but I had to stop. Even though I feel like I could have finished it, I had to stop. Let me explain everything. And actually, firstly, there are two more bonus stories in this. One called The Sad Tale of the Principal Post, and the other is The Enigma of Omagora Fault. And I didn't read those because both of them are also included in the Venus in the Blind Spot collection. So I'm just going to count them towards Venus in the Blind Spot. So when I get to that one, that's when I'll read those stories. Honestly, I do apologize for any mispronunciations. I think it's Gil. Someone online, the Omnibus Collector, is saying Gil. That's how I'll pronounce it. So after reading this one, I feel like I am definitely starting to understand the Junji Ito horror sense. So I wasn't wholly scared by this, but it did get under my skin a few times. And I do feel like a lot of it is quite gross and disgusting. And I don't think any of the characters have really stood out, but I feel like they've been so, well, especially the main character in this, he is like almost like a blank slate that I can project myself into as a main character, and I felt myself being the one who was experiencing all of this. In fact, the characters felt like tools for me as a reader to experience the story itself. So we do follow Tadashi, and he is the male main character, and Kiori, I think, is how you pronounce the main female character. And I loved the start of this story with it being set underwater, because it just added this really submersive and very isolating atmosphere. And I'm kind of scared of the deep ocean. You're going to find so many of my fears throughout this vlog. I'm kind of scared of the deep ocean, and also the fact that Jaws is one of my most scariest films ever. And when I was a kid, I watched it too young, and I was up for months with nightmares. So I had this profound fear of sharks, and it definitely comes back to haunt me in this. But yeah, we do have that start of this, and I just loved how this story first unfolded. So Kiori, she annoyed the hell out of me, I'm not gonna lie. Every other thing she muttered in this or shouted was, I can smell it, it smells bad, get rid of it, it smells. I know she has a sensitive nose, and I know that sometimes her ability to be able to smell comes in handy a couple of times, but oh my god, like, she just wouldn't shut the fuck up. For half of this, she wouldn't shut the fuck up. So I did find her really annoying, but I was kind of rooting for the main guy character. I thought, hey, I guess I felt bad for him mostly than actually found any likability in him, just because I feel like, and correct me if I'm wrong, but so far with Junji Ito's stories, it has mainly been the plot or the horror that kind of propels the story forward, and not so much the characters, which isn't a bad thing at all, because it allows me to really get a sense of the horror that's unfolding. And while I didn't think I was wholly terrified by this, I will say though, the shark stuff definitely did. It was still very unsettling because of Junji Ito's art style. So the main story of this is the fact that we have these fish or any kind of sea life creature coming out from the ocean, and they have these mechanical legs, and they can scurry around, like they can actually walk on land. And I love the idea of that, because I have thought in the past, when I was scared of Jaws and I was up all night scared of Jaws, I would be like, oh, but Jaws can't reach me here because I'm on land. But this story kind of just blows that out of the water, essentially, because the shark can come out of the water. Yeah, there is like this really scary part where there is actually a shark just in the distance, and everyone gets out of the water, and they're like, oh, we made it. But then the shark just comes full force towards the beach, and you see the massive legs, and it just comes onto the beach. And I feel like this wasn't when I stopped. I stopped when the shark actually started chasing our main characters. I couldn't do it. I had to finish it off this morning. But the idea of all of these fish with the mechanical legs coming out on land, it was very weird. It was just a very, very weird book. And I think I would probably give it a higher rating than I'm going to give it now. If it wasn't really for like some of the later stuff that happens in this, I think it kind of lost me a little bit with the circus part. I think that was when I started to be like, maybe we could have ended it a little bit earlier than this. I just wasn't taken by the circus part. And there is a whole lot of ways of trying to explain what happened. We meet the main character's uncle, and there are some things about how there is this gas that is making the legs move. So even though the fish are dead and they are rotting and the smell is awful, the gas that's within them or within these legs too is what's like propelling them forward. But there's a whole lot more to it than that, and it does get so freaking odd a bit later on too, when it kind of starts to take people, you know, like these mechanical leg things, they can sort of latch on, and these tube things go into the mouth and the anus, which is just so, it's so bizarre, it really is. But I found myself really enjoying my time reading it. The intrigue was extremely high. I want to see if I can get, oh god, I want to see if I can get a good image up of what I kind of mean, like sort of like this is so messed up. This is why I feel like this is such a bizarre concept that you can't help but feel like it's just all messed up. I'm like, who thinks of this? Who thinks of this? I mean, even though I said, oh, I once had like nightmares about Jaws getting me on land, so I'm sure people have also had the kind of fear of something that shouldn't be able to walk being able to walk, and they can actually get you. It's almost like, you know, being in the bathtub and thinking that a shark is somehow going to be in the bathtub with you. That's happened to me a few times before. I mean, not the shark, but me thinking of that. So I was just so enthralled and intrigued by it all. I really love this spread too. I think every now and then I will show you like my favorite spreads from these books, because I don't think I have too much else to say about this other than I just freaking really enjoyed it. I'm just like, how in the world did Junji Ito even draw this? You know, I'm looking at how intricate it looks, and it blows me away, honestly. So I'm going to give this one an 8 out of 10. I think had it been a little bit shorter and it didn't go into the whole like circus aspect of it in the latter half of this book, then it probably would have been like an 8.5 or a 9. But I think it did lose me a little bit by the end of it, but it was still so super freaking enjoyable nonetheless.